All right. Make sure audio clear. All right, 1 2 1 2. All right, we should be good to go. All right, Shalom Israel. You're on live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer War coming to y'all live from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have classes here in Memphis from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You brothers and sisters tuning in, you got family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas. Get them in contact with the ISUPK. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? Truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2022, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to find out the truth of who they are, where they're from, and what their purpose is on this earth. Tonight is Thursday night scripture breakdown class. Last night we discussed fighting sin with sin, how that is an impossible task. In order to overcome sin or wickedness, you have to apply righteousness or obedience to God. Tonight I want to take some time to really talk about the man uh, who we call Christ. Now, in the Hebrew, in the ISUPK, we teach our people the original language of our ancestors. So we recognize our king as Yahushua HaMashiach, right? Yahushua HaMashiach is his name in Hebrew. That's the name that he was called when he walked the earth. Today, you know him as Jesus the Christ or Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ or Yahushua HaMashiach means the anointed savior. That's what the name means in Hebrew. Yahushua means savior or the savior, and Hamashiach means the anointed. All right. And the custom or the culture of the Israelites, being anointed with oil was a recognition that you were chosen by God. All right, you go in the Bible, you read about Aaron being anointed with oil and it ran down his beard. That's because Aaron was chosen to be a priest to God. You read about David being anointed when Samuel lined up all his brothers. David was the youngest. He was anointed with oil. That was to recognize that the Most High had chosen David to be king. Well, our king, Yahushua, was anointed when he went out to the River Jordan and met John the Baptist. And John the Baptist performed the ritual water baptism of cleaning him in the water of the River Jordan. And when the angel came down and descended upon Christ, the angel anointed him, and a voice from heaven spoke and said, "This is my son, hear ye him." You understand? So our Savior, the anointed, was a man who was born to a man and a woman having sex. Christianity and religion has lied to us and told us that Jesus had an immaculate conception. The Bible tells us that Mary and Joseph indeed had sex, and she conceived and bare a child. An angel came and visited Joseph and calmed Joseph's nerves about this son that he was preparing to have, even though he hadn't finished paying off the dowry to the woman's father. The angel came and said, "Joseph, don't be afraid to take unto thee Mary, your wife." You understand? So this man who was born the same way that all of us were born, from a man and a woman having sex, lived a perfect life. And the Bible says that the Bible recognizes him as God's son, which is another Hebrew cultural thing where we had give someone a name or reputation based on their conduct and their character. You understand? Yahushua Mashiach was known as the Son of God, not because an angel beamed a baby into Mary's belly, or because God, the Father, came down and had sex with a woman, like you find in many pagan cultures, stories of their false gods. But Jesus was the Son of God because he obeyed the Father like a good son and was a reflection of what the Father wanted a son to be. So because he obeyed the Most High so perfectly and was such a reflection of what the Most High wanted man to be, we recognize him as the Son of God. And tonight we're going to go into the book of Luke, the 20th chapter. We're going to read Luke, the 21st chapter, if we get to it, and just get a little bit of an understanding of the man that Yahushua was. Because this is a brother who You read the Bible, he had many interactions with people in the public. This wasn't some man who, like a preacher, sat up on a pulpit and was untouchable or unreachable by the people. He wasn't your Joel Osteen or your Creflo Dollar or your TD Jakes or some pastor who you got to pay, $100,000 to come down to Memphis, Tennessee, and preach to the congregation. He didn't have some big mega church where they came and brought tithes of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, where he could have a Rolls Royce and a Benz, and he could fly private jets and drive in the nicest, fanciest chariots. Our King Yahushua was a brother, a regular man just like me and you. But he was a man who the Most High had chosen for a purpose to lead his people and to show them that there was a way that they could obey the Most High and that they could live perfect on the earth and that they could please the Father. And it's through his life that we are able now to have an opportunity to learn from him, to take his spirit into us and live for him, seeing as though he gave his life for us to have a second chance. So as we go to get into this breakdown tonight, if anybody has any questions, type them in online. If you have any questions in the room, all you have to do is raise your hand. We're going to go ahead and get right into it, all right? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to type in any questions you have. And if there are no questions, we're going into Luke chapter 20. We're going to start at verse 1. Again, if y'all can like and share the class, let everybody know we live. Brothers and sisters that's online, like and share the class, let everybody know we live. Again, this class is being taught so that we can get an understanding, get an inside peek into the person of Yahushua Mashiach. All right. Shalom to Shabal. Shalom to Shabar Azakia. Appreciate y'all brothers for checking in with me, man. All right, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start in Luke chapter 20 and verse 1. And it says, as it came to pass that on one of those days, as he taught the people in the temple and preached the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes came upon him with the elders. So this is Christ in the temple teaching, right? He's breaking it down for the people. He's explaining the good news. That's what the gospel is. What is the good news? The good news is that the Most High chose the 12 tribes of Israel. We are his people and he is our God, and he wants us to rule the earth. But the only way that we're going to be able to rule, the only way we're going to be able to reap the benefits of being the people he chose is if we obey him and do what he said to do. We have to follow all of these laws that are in the Bible so that we can present ourselves blameless and clean before the Father, so that he can be proud of us and reward us with all the promises that he gave to our father Abraham many, many, many years ago. So that's what Christ was in the temple teaching. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, y'all. Our rulership is right around the corner. All we have to do is get back to doing what the Father said to do. We got to separate ourselves from this Roman culture, this Roman society. We got to stop believing in their gods, stop celebrating their holidays, stop participating in their government. And the Most High is going to look down from heaven and see us banding together to be the people he called us to be, and he's going to free us. We are going to be redeemed back to the Father and become the people he called us to be from the beginning. That's the gospel. Where did Christ get this gospel from? He got it from the Old Testament. That is the message that was sent to the Israelites from law, from the prophets, and from the records going all the way back into the books of Chronicles and Kings. The message for the children of Israel was you were the people that were chosen by God. All the way back to our father Abraham, all the way back to Adam from the beginning. We have been chosen by the Lord, but we cannot reap the benefits of being chosen if we don't do what he said to do. So let's do what he said to do. What are we struggling with? We're struggling with drugs. Are we struggling with alcohol? You brothers, are you struggling with being right by these women? Sisters, are you struggling with not being a whore and with not chasing after some fairy tale that's being sold to you by your oppressor? Are you having an issue raising your kids to do right and the fear of the Most High? What do we have to? What issues are we having? So let's correct them so we can get back to being the Lord's children, so we can be delivered. That was the gospel. And then here come the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders. Who are they? They are the men who are usually teaching in the temple. They are the men whose job it is to teach in the temple. But here come this other cat coming in here teaching this gospel, and they are offended. So let's see how they address him as he's in there teaching. Verse 2, and spake unto him, saying, tell us, by what authority doest thou these things? Or who is it, or who is he that gave thee this authority? So Christ is in there teaching, he breaking it down. They come in and say, who gave you the authority to teach? Who told you could come up in here and start breaking it down? Start telling these people this good news. Now, understand from the perspective of the Pharisees and Sadducees, Yahushua was completely out of line. In their mind, he ain't no priest. In their mind, he ain't no elder. He was just 30 some years old. In their mind, he wasn't ordained by them. He wasn't in their schools and in their classes, even though he was well known from the age of 12 as being a brother who was gifted in the scriptures. See, it's funny when you read the Bible, if you don't have the context of knowing Christ's background, you would think that the Pharisees and Sadducees didn't know this cat. And that just wasn't the case. Because of the laws in Israel at that time, you had to be at the Passover every year. So the yearly trip to Jerusalem was mandatory for everybody. Christ, from the age of 12, had been making that trip to Jerusalem every year. And at the age of 12, he sat in there debating with all the lawyers and with all of the chief priests. So in 20 years, they were well versed with this brother. They knew this brother very much. But it wasn't until he was baptized by John the Baptist that he began to aggressively teach the gospel, because it wasn't his time yet. So when he showed up and began to teach, when he showed up and began to gather crowds, when he showed up and began to heal people, it wasn't like this was someone who came out of nowhere, who nobody knew this man, that out of nowhere he popped up on the scene. People knew about Yahushua Nazareth, the son of Joseph. So as they're coming and saying, who taught you, who gave you this authority? Who told you could come in here and teach? They're doing it disrespecting this brother and his reputation for being a man who the Lord has been with for quite some time. Verse 3, and he answered and said unto them, I will also ask you one thing, and answer me now. Christ answered their question with a question. And in asking the question, the answer to his question would have given them the answer to theirs. And that's something that we do today in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and that comes directly from our King Yahushua. If you want to know how to battle someone in the scriptures, you want to know how to cut somebody, there's no greater study than our King Yahushua. So they asked him, man, who gave you the authority to teach? Or by what authority are you in here teaching? Who gave you this authority? He said, all right, let me ask you a question. Verse 4, the baptism of John, was it from heaven or of men? That's the question. They asking him, who gave you your authority? He say, let me ask y'all a question. John's baptism, was it from heaven or was it from men? Why is he asking them that question? Let's read verse 5. And they reasoned with themselves, saying, if we shall say from heaven, he will say, why then believe ye him not? Verse 6. But, and if we say of men, all the people will stone us, for they be persuaded that John was a prophet. So now you see the cut. Christ put them in what's called a catch-22. A catch-22 is where you damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I'll give it to you in terms of chess. It's a checkmate. Christ asked the perfect question that made it so that they could not respond, because either way, they were cut. And why did this question about John the Baptist pertain to Christ? Because the same way the people viewed John the Baptist, the people viewed Christ at this time. The people believed on the miracles of Yahushua. They believed on his teachings, so much so that the word was out that there's a man of God among us. So if they were to condemn Christ, the people would be against them because they believed that he was a prophet. And if Christ answered them, they would be able to say, this man blasphemes and says that he's from God. So let's see how it unfolded. Verse 7, and they answered that they could not tell whence it was. And they answered, we don't know. We don't know if John the Baptist was from heaven or not. So now they refuse to answer the question either way. Verse 8, and Yahushua answered unto them, neither tell I you by what authority I do these things. Right? Say, oh, y'all don't have an answer for me? Well, guess what? Then I don't have an answer for you. And sometimes that's how easy it is to cut someone concerning what it is that we teach and what it is that we believe in the Bible. It don't have to always be an argument. It don't have to be a long drawn out thing. Somebody asks you a silly question, a pretentious question, a doubting question, just ask them one back. They don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you neither. We keep it moving. But let's continue to read on. Verse 9. Then began he to speak to the people this parable. So after this encounter, which occurred in front of the people, it occurred at the temple. They didn't have an answer for him. Christ went on teaching. Then began, this is Luke chapter 20, verse 9. Then began he to speak to the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard and led it forth to husbandmen and went into a far country for a long time. So the metaphor is a man planted a garden, right? A vineyard. And then he left. He hired men to take care of the vineyard while he was gone. But he left for a long time. Verse 10. And at the season he sent a servant to the husbandmen that they should give him of the fruit of the vineyard. But the husbandmen beat him and sent him away empty. So the man who owned the field sent the servant to go gather his profits. The men who was responsible for gathering the profits beat the servant. Get the hell up out of here. You ain't getting nothing from us, nigga. We ain't got no money from you here. Ain't no money over here, man. Ain't no fruit in this field. Get the hell up out of here. They got together, they beat him and sent them away. Right? Verse 11. And again he sent another servant, and they beat him also, and entreated him shamefully, and sent him away empty. What does it mean to entreated him shamefully? Let's get the definition of the word entreat. And entreat is E-N-T-R-E-A-T. All right. To entreat with, especially in order to persuade or to deal with. You understand? To deal with someone is to entreat them, is to deal with them. So in Luke 20 and 10, in Luke 20 and 11, and again he sent another servant, and they beat him also, and they treated him shamefully and sent him away empty. So this is two servants that the man who owns the field, who let these men work the field while he was away, they refused to pay the servants that he sent. It's verse 12. And again he sent the third, and they wounded him also and cast him out. Verse 13. Then said the Lord of the vineyard, what shall I do? I will send my beloved son. It may be they will reverence him when they see him. But when the husbandmen saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. So the husband, the Lord of the vineyard, believed that maybe they beat these servants because they didn't respect the servants. Maybe the servants were of too low of a degree for them to receive these servants. Let me send my son. Let me send the prince. Let me see the man who they all know to respect and to admonish. Maybe then I'll be able to get my profits. And what did they do? They beat the son. What did they do to the son? They plotted on the son. Oh, this the prince. If we kill the prince, then now we'll be next in line to receive the inheritance. We'll be next in line to get what the Lord has to pass down. And this parable is very important because this parable is not about a lord of a vineyard, and it's not about the husbandman of the vineyard. This parable is about the 12 tribes of Israel and the chief priests and the scribes and the men who sat in Moses' seat. The Lord of the vineyard is the Most High. The vineyard that he planted is the earth. The husbandmen are the priests of Israel, and the fruit are the children of Israel. You say that one more time. The Lord of the vineyard is the Most High. The husbandmen of the vineyard are the chief priests or the priests of Israel. The vineyard is the world, the earth, and the fruit of the vineyard are the children of Israel. The Most High created the earth. That's the vineyard. Then he rose up priests over the people that he chose to till the ground and to establish order, to put God's laws into place. Those are the husbandmen. After a while, the Most High wanted his fruit, which is the children of Israel. And when he sent servants to gather his children, the chief priests beat them and sent them away. Those are the prophets. That's Ezekiel. That's Daniel. That's Jeremiah. That's Isaiah. That's Nahum. That's Habakkuk. That's Obadiah. That's Samuel. All your prophets are the men who the husbandmen, the priests, who were supposed to be gathering the fruit to the Lord, they beat those men and sent them away. They would not let the Lord get his fruit. So then the Most High says, well, maybe I'll send my son. I'll send my son, and I'll let my son go, and they'll respect him. They'll reverence him. And when Yahushua was in the earth teaching and was raising our people up, they were recognizing him as the Son of God. They were recognizing him as the man who the Lord was with. And instead of them reverencing him, they plotted against him, saying, if we kill him, we'll have everything that belongs to him, which was all the people, all the power, all the rulership. The men who walked the earth during the days of Christ were so much against God that rather than letting Christ establish the kingdom for them to live in, they would have rather killed him and took a kingdom for themselves. Even acknowledging that the only kingdom that they could have for themselves was one that was beneath their oppressors. That is the evil of the people who rule over so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians today. And it's not anything new. It's not something that's peculiar to this generation. It's always been that way among our people. Salakia. Let me keep reading. I'm going to read to the end of the parable and I'll answer the question that the brother has online. All right. Verse 15. So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do unto them? He shall come and destroy these husbandmen, and shall give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, God forbid. Verse 17, and he beheld them and said, what is this then that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. What does that mean? The stone that the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. I need somebody to break that down for me. All right. Here is what the head of the corner refers to. So again, you have a building that's being built, right? And there's a stone that fits in this building that the builders reject. The people building the building say, no, we don't want that stone. That stone doesn't fit. That stone isn't good enough for this building. So what happens to that stone? Does that stone get cast away? Does it just get thrown in the trash? Is it no good? No, that stone now becomes the foundation of another building. The head of the corner is the foundation stone. It's the stone that you start the building off with. It's the most important stone in the whole building. And it's important to understand that when Christ said this, his meaning was that the building was the children of Israel. The building was the chief priests. The building that the builders were building was the establishment of Israel at that time. Israel was established with a hierarchy, with chief priests and scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees. They had a government, had a land. They were already established. That's the building. The builders, or the men in charge, were the chief priests, the scribes, the Pharisees, right? Then Christ came along. He was coming along to complete the building, to be the cornerstone, to be the last piece of the building. And those men said, no, we don't want this stone. We don't want that to be the last piece of the puzzle. We're not accepting this to be the cornerstone of the building. We're not accepting this to be the last stone that goes on top. So the stone the builders rejected became the head of the corner for a whole new building. The Pharisees and the scribes and the chief priests didn't want Yahushua to rule over them. No problem. He started a new building, established a new foundation. And that foundation that he established is where the ISUPK comes from. It's where the authority that we have to teach today comes from. It doesn't come from the authority of our oppressor. It doesn't come from, any accredited institutions. This knowledge and this understanding we have, the process that a man goes through to get approved to be able to teach, to be ordained to go out here and do this work, that doesn't come from your oppressor. We are the people who the builders rejected. So Christ said, no problem. He went ahead and became the foundation for a whole new building. Verse 12, whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken. But on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him into powder. Verse 19. And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him. And they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. And they were right. They weren't that stupid. They were picking up what he was laying down. They was understanding the parable that he was presenting, and they knew that he was right. They were more ashamed that he knew them rather than they were angry at what he said. And understand this, man, shame can be a very, very powerful tool of Satan to cause you to do evil. The shame of not wanting to be found out, or the shame of not wanting to face reality, the shame of not wanting to acknowledge that you did wrong could drive a man to kill. Could drive you to murder, to extortion, you know what I'm saying, to drug addiction, uh, just all the unspeakable, heinous crimes that a man could commit. Oftentimes, the motivation behind them is shame or guilt. Let me drop that right quick. We're in Luke 20 and 20. We're going to come back to it. Thawaran has a question in the class. He asks, Salaki, sir, concerning modesty, would it be considered immodest for a sister that is full-figured to wear a long dress below the knee that is form-fitted? Okay, it depends on what you say full-figured is. You understand? Some women are curvy and can't help themselves, right? They got a body. They got a body. You say a form-fitting dress. Okay, I need to understand, Thawaran. Is this a sister who's curvy and she's, body is built a certain way to where she can't hide herself? Or is this a woman who is has a lot of girth on her, meaning she's heavy set in all areas of her body? I'm trying to find, is this a woman who got a body that could be hidden, or is this a sister that's just, no matter what she wears, no matter, she's just, her body is large? Because, okay, in both instances, the woman should have some shame about herself. This is not about whether the sister is big or not. It's not about, oh, she's too big to wear that dress, or, she need to hide that butt. Both of them need to hide whatever they're doing. Some women think that it's not fair that slimmer women get to wear certain clothes that they don't get to wear. So sometimes, like right now, you got this broad Lizzo, right? This broad Lizzo is a big woman. And Lizzo, being a big woman, doesn't feel that she should be limited in how she dresses or how she flaunts her body. So she wears clothing that is often not at all designed or made for a woman her size. But if you tell Lizzo, cover that fatness up. You're too big, you can't wear them clothes, cover up, fat girl. And then now you're fat shaming, meaning you're pointing out her fat for being a reason that she can't dress that way, when her being fat should not be the reason she can't dress that way. The reason she shouldn't be able to dress that way is because it is shameful. And those clothes are shameful, whether you're big, whether you're small, whether you're tall, whether you're round, or whether you're skinny like this pin. Either way, put some goddamn clothes on, woman, and cover that stuff up. Nobody needs to see the shape of your body but your man at home. You understand? Now, if a man is a lot of these cats out here deviants, you understand? They'll see through your clothes and say, "Oh, imagine what you look like under them clothes. Ooh, wee, that thing nice up under there. Nigga can't. It's a whole jacket and sweatpants and 2 shirts covering it. You talk, ooh, wee, look at that." You can't help that. But you can help if you're trying to slide on the leather onesie with the leopard print and all the dimples and imperfections in your body is seen in your clothes. Cover that up. I don't give a damn if you're in shape and work out, got a six pack and measurements is 36, 26, 42. Cover it up. Nobody want to see that. I don't care if you're size 2, size 4, size 12, size 16. Cover it up. But the problem is you brothers will allow some little slim broad that got a nice shape. You'll let her wear the nasty hoe clothes. And Lizzo go put them on and you got a problem with Lizzo. Well, goddamn it, I got a problem when Lizzo do it. I got a problem when Beyonce do it. I got a problem with, Rihanna, whoever doing it. Hoe, cover up. Y'all can't be selective in your righteousness. You can't say fat girls can't wear it, but this, that thing there, she could wear that. Ooh. Fat girl, don't you put that on. You can't wear that, fat girl, but look at that over there. Goddamn. Y'all evil, man. Just be the same standard for the goddamn, and for the fat girl. Both of them need to cover up. Put some goddamn clothes on. Because it all brings negative attention. You understand? And these big girls shouldn't be feeling like they got to compete with these little slim hoes. You understand? You should demonize the slim hoes so that the fat girls will feel good covering up. Yeah, girl, he said they shouldn't be seeing all this plush I got anyway, grandma always put the plastic on the couches. That's what you need to tell these big girls. There's some beautiful women, all of them beautiful. Don't let these niggas lie to you. They is knocking down Lizzo just like they knocking down Rihanna and Beyonce. You understand? And these big girls is not wanting for no sex. These big women is getting some rod thrown at them, just like these skinny women is. But these big women feel like they got to compete with these little girls. They putting on these nasty hoe clothes, not even realizing, big girl, we look at the skinny hoes like they hoes too. I don't know why you want that attention. You're just going to be looked at like another whore. Don't look at don't be looked at like a whore, sis. Cover yourself up. Put some clothes on. You understand? Let me know if you get it, though, Rod. Tell that big girl cover up. Tell them skinny hoes cover up too. And if the women that's shapely and it can't be hidden, Lord be with you and your husband. But cover that up too. Cover it up anyway. Doubly cover it up. Triply cover it up. You understand? But it shouldn't be no discrepancy between the skinny woman and a woman that's full figure. All right? Shabal got a question. Said, could he get a breakdown on Isaiah 58, 13, and 14? All right? Isaiah 58, 13, and 14. All right? He wanted to get a breakdown, so let's read it. Isaiah 58, 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. All right? So here's what you got to understand about this, Shabal. There was a time in Israel where it was being taught that you could not do nothing on the Sabbath. Think of it this way. What is being described in verse 13 is what the Jewish man does today. Those bastards who claim to be Jews and are not, but do lie, Revelations 2 and 9, they say you can't use a microwave on the Sabbath, you can't turn a light bulb on. If you go to the bathroom number 2, you can't wipe yourself, you can't take a bath, you can't run no water with the heater on. You can't do nothing on the Sabbath. You got to just sit still and look dumb and be stupid because it's the Sabbath. That was the Most High. The Most High said, if they turn away their foot from the Sabbath, from doing their pleasure, that was their pleasure. Their pleasure was to say, you can't do nothing on the Sabbath. You can't light no fire on the Sabbath. You can't, you can't go out the house. You can't eat. You can't cook. You can't make no hot meals. That was doing their pleasure on the Sabbath. You understand? Shabal says, Salaki, sir, is not always running your business on some greedy shit. No, no. In this context, thine own ways was making it so nobody could do nothing on the Sabbath. And that was never what the Most High intended for the Sabbath to be. The Most High intended was for the Sabbath to be a day of rest. Do what you want to do. You're free to do what you want to do on the Sabbath. You can't do nothing. You can't do work on the Sabbath. See, there's a misunderstanding about the context of the Bible. When they read about the man getting killed for gathering sticks to light a fire on the Sabbath, they believe that lighting a fire on the Sabbath was evil. When that man got killed because it was his job to gather sticks to light fires in some man's house. That was his job, was to gather sticks to light a fire. They caught him gathering sticks. Said, "What you doing, boy?" "Man, I'm about to get some sticks to light a fire in my master's house." Kill this man for doing work on the Sabbath. But if I'm a nigga who don't light fires every day, and it's the Sabbath and I want to light a fire, I can light a fire if that's not my job. If I don't fish every day, if my slavery is I go work at a warehouse and I pack boxes, but on the Sabbath, I want to go fishing. I can go fishing on the Sabbath because that's not my job. But a man who fishes every day, who catches fish and sells them, makes his money by catching fish, on the Sabbath, he cannot catch fish. Everybody understands? So they were being taught, you can't do nothing on the Sabbath. You got to sit here and twiddle your thumbs on the Sabbath and think about God on the Sabbath. That was them doing their own ways. You understand? But that's why the Lord said, if you do what I said to do, if you call the Sabbath a delight, the holy Lord and honorable, and you honor him, not doing your own ways or finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, if you don't pervert the Sabbath and do what I said to do on the Sabbath, then I'll honor you. Again, this is another example of the husbandmen beating the fruit and beating the servants. The husbandmen, the Lord of the vineyard didn't say the grapes were supposed to go be spoiled and wither. You understand? So when the Isaiah came to teach them, you got to let the fruit, you got to let the people enjoy the Sabbath. Y'all making the Sabbath a burden. Stop doing this or I'm going to punish you. And they didn't want to hear it. Everybody understands? All right, Shabal said the water, sir, makes sense. Most High Christ. All right. Any other questions? All right, no sweat. Back on the topic. All right. Now we're going back to Luke chapter 20. We're going down to verse 20 now. All right. It says, and they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. So after Christ gave the parable about the Lord in the vineyard, and about the son being sent, and about the son being killed, and then the Lord of the vineyard said, I'm going to burn down the whole vineyard and I'm going to kill all the husbandmen and give the vineyard to someone else. The Pharisees and Sadducees and the scribe and the chief priests took offense. So they sent men to spy on Christ, to pretend to be down with his movement, just so they could find him saying or doing something wrong, and they could get him thrown in jail. Doesn't that sound like COINTELPRO. Doesn't that sound like something that the CIA and the FBI does? Doesn't it sound like the movie In Too Deep? Let's read it one more time. Listen, black people, the Bible is a black man's book. And when you read the Bible, you got to stop picturing white people. You got to start seeing who it is we're talking about. The same things that befell the men of God in the past are exactly the things that are befalling us today. Again, Luke 20 and 20. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. You understand? God damn. That's the CIA. That's the FBI. That's COINTELPRO. I know it's some agents in here right now watching this class, trying to get into the ISUPK. They've been sent in here to feign themselves just men. And they're looking for something that we say or something that we do that they could use to violate us, that they could use to embarrass us, that they could use to bring us up on charges and deliver us to the U.S. prosecutor's office to be tried for crimes of treason against this country. And guess what? They'll never find it. All the men they send in here to try and infiltrate this ISUPK, them niggas gonna come into the truth and be converted and become men of God. I'm just waiting for one of them that they sent in here to confess. Confess that you were sent by the CIA and the FBI to stop this radical movement of black supremacists. Confess and repent and say, I came in here thinking y'all was some black separatists and radicals, but I realized that you all are the people of the book. Y'all the priests and the prophets of the Lord. And you changed my life. Because best believe they're there. You know what I'm saying? Sister Shakaya asking about the memorial of the blowing of trumpets. I'll get on that next week, sis, so I'll go into it the day of the memorial of the blowing of trumpets, all right? All right. Let's keep reading Luke 20 and 21. And they asked him, saying, Master, and we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, neither acceptest thou the person of any, but teachest the way of God truly. Is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar or no? Now, understand this. It's easy to recognize a narc. Just like it is today, it's always been easy to recognize an undercover nigga. The nigga that just ain't down, don't belong, it ain't hip. You can easily tell when a nigga fronting. The way they asked this question right here, Christ knew, man, there's something off with these niggas. Because anybody who's truly learning and anybody who truly wants to know, you got a question, you just ask it. You don't have to go, oh, Grand Master, Wizard, and Imperial, Highness of all knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, brother, and all the knowledge flows through your mind, and we know that you know us all things, and all things know us you. But can you just tell us, should we pay taxes? Like, don't miss me with all the glorification. Don't try to blow smoke up my behind and then ask me a question that you know the answer to it could jam me up. And that's what they did with this here. These damn CIA, these spies they sent to go watch Christ to try and get him to get tripped up, they gave themselves away with the way they asked the question. But the question is the question nonetheless. Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or no? Should we pay our taxes? And understand this, brothers. There's a reason why we were so adamant against those PPP loans when they first came out. Because those PPP loans were a trap. They were a trap for unsuspecting brothers and sisters who did not realize that that entire pandemic, from the beginning until now, was designed by our oppressors to weaken the resolve of the people. It was forced to make you be broke. It was forced to put you behind on your rent. It was forced to put you behind on your bills so that they can see in in the desperation of these times who is going to buck the system. One way you could have bucked the system was those PPP loans. Another way the system was bucked was they stormed the Capitol on January 6th. All of these things were consequences and repercussions of the same action. So when asking this question, should you pay tribute to Caesar, knowing that it is required for you to pay taxes, of course you should pay your taxes. In the ISUPK, we are lawful in everything we do. We pay our taxes. We put on a seatbelt at the red light. We get licenses for our firearms. Hell, we pay all of our bills on time. All of our credit scores are impeccable. We are model citizens. Because being a model citizen does not interfere with our service of God. In fact, our service of God makes us model citizens. So they asked Christ, is it lawful for us to give unto Caesar or no? Verse 23, but he perceived their craftiness and said unto them, why tempt ye me? The same way that they asked him a question in the beginning about who gave him the authority, and he asked them a question back to cut them, they asked him a question about these laws of Rome. And he's saying, why are you trying to tempt me, man? You trying to get me to play myself? You trying to get me to say something to go against Caesar? Verse 24, show me a penny. Whose image and superscription has it? They answered and said, Caesar's. He said, give me a penny. Pull out a penny in my pocket right now. Whose image and superscription is on it? Abraham Lincoln's. What does Abraham Lincoln represent? The United States government. And what does that represent? The authority of our oppressor. Christ took out that coin, seeing Caesar's image on it, Caesar's writing on there. And here's what he said, verse 25. And he said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God's. Now, if Caesar's taxes is what's rendered unto Caesar, what are the things that are rendered unto God? If Caesar requires you pay taxes, what does God require? God requires your obedience. God requires your unwavering loyalty. God requires your unquenching fear. So give Caesar his taxes, but give the Most High his obedience. Give him the loyalty he deserves. Give him the honor he deserves. Everybody understands? Verse 26, and they could not take hold of his words before the people, and they marveled at his answer and held their peace. You see, even the COINTELPRO niggas can be impressed. Even the COINTELPRO niggas can be made a believer. These niggas that was sent to spy on Christ and to jam him up, they got to the point where they was impressed. Verse 27, then came to him certain of the Sadducees, which deny that there is any resurrection. And they asked him, saying, Master, Moses wrote unto us, if any man's brother die having a wife, and he die without children, that his brother should take his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. There were therefore 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died without children. And the second took her to wife, and he died childless. And the third took her, and in like manner the 7 also, and they left no children and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife of them is she? For 7 had her to wife. Now, they started out by saying the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. So they don't believe that when you die, you come back. This question also explains why they didn't believe. So here was what the Sadducees' understanding of resurrection was. You die, and eventually you come back in the same body. Whatever you did in this life, it will be brought back. You'll remember it when you come back in the resurrection. So they had a misunderstanding of what the resurrection was. They thought you die, you rest, then your body comes out of the earth, you're back in the earth again, and you're the same man you were before. Which is why they asked, if 7 men had this woman, then whose husband is she going to be when they all come back? That's not how the resurrection works. It's not how reincarnation works. How do we know? Ecclesiastes 1 and 10, Ecclesiastes 6 and 10. I mean, see, 6 and now I gotta get it. Gotta Ecclesiastes 1 and 10. Ecclesiastes 6 and 10. Well, it might be 1 and 12. Ecclesiastes 1 and 12, Ecclesiastes 6 and 10, Ecclesiastes 3, 14 through 16 is a quick breakdown of reincarnation. But if you haven't had the breakdown before, you won't be able to get it. But basically, you live a life, it's a cycle of life. You're born in the earth, you live a full life, and then you die. But your spirit goes back to the Most High. He judges you for the things you've done in this life, and then you come back, the same spirit, but in a new body. And once you enter the earth in the body that you enter it in, you don't have no remembrance or recollection of any previous lives, nor do you have any knowledge of any lives that you will live in the future. Everybody understands? So Christ, understanding how reincarnation works, answers them this way. Verse Luke 20 and 34. And Yahushua answering said unto them, the children of this world marry and are given in marriage. But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. Everybody understands? Meaning what? In this life, you choose who you want to have sex with, or it's predetermined because of an arranged marriage, right? But those who are worthy of the resurrection from the dead, they neither marry or are given in marriage, meaning they have a brand new slate. They start over. They're not married. They're not given in marriage. You understand? They don't do what they want to do. In the reincarnation, we won't do what we want to do. We'll do the Most High's will. That's what he means. Verse 36, neither can they die anymore, for they are equal unto the angels. They won't die anymore, for they are equal unto the angels. How are they equal unto the angels? Because they obey just like the angels obey. They do what they're told to do just like the angels do what they're told to do. So there will be no more sin, so we won't die anymore. And are the children of God being the children of the resurrection? All the children of the resurrection are the 12 tribes of Israel. Verse 27, now that the dead are raised, even Moses showed at the bush when he calleth the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. For he is not a God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. Means what? Everybody comes back. When the Bible says the Most High is the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's not because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were people in the past. It's because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are people now. They're living now on the earth now. Because the Most High is a living, he's the God of the living, not the God of the dead. Everybody understand? Verse 39. Then certain of the scribes answered, saying, Master, thou hast well said. And after that, they durst not ask him any question at all. They stopped asking him questions. Verse 41. Now he had a question for them. Once he shut them up, now he had a question. And he said unto them, how say they that Christ is David's son? How do they say the anointed one is David's son? Now, Christ understood that all of Israel was awaiting the fulfillment of the prophecy of the son of David, establishing a kingdom that would never fall. And during this time of his ministry and his teaching, from the time of his 40-day fast, communing with the Most High, Yahushua understood that he was the Christ. He understood that he was the man who the Lord had prophesied about. Now he's asking a question to see if they know, to see what they know. And here's the question. Again, Luke 20:41. He said unto them, how say they that Christ is David's son? Verse 42. And David himself says in the book of Psalms, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand, till I make thine enemies thy footstool. David therefore calls him Lord. How is he then his son? Remember, this breakdown was to give you an insight into the type of character that Yahushua was, the type of man that he was. Yahushua was a thoughtful man. He was an intelligent man, a well-studied man. He was a man who was unemotional. He was a man who feared the Most High. But most importantly, he was a man who knew how to prove that he was right in everything that he did and said. And that is the type of man that you must become. When we talk about being Christ-like, it's more than just being nice and being sweet and keeping the laws. It's also about being a man, being a leader, being, all the things that he embodied, man. This is an amazing brother, an amazing cat who understood how to reach people, who understood how to dig into your soul and to pull out the thing that was holding you back from being the man and the woman that the Most High called you to be. And he did this with these Pharisees and Sadducees, knowing that there was a chance they could change, even though he knew that they were not. But if there's a man who's on the earth, who's teaching and prophesying and telling the people things that you've never heard before, and you question him about his authority and question him about who allowed him to be able to teach these things, and he's able to prove to you by your own condemnation, right? Meaning you cut in your conscience, then you should leave that man alone. And in the ISUPK, anybody who dares to question your authority, dares to question who ordains you, dares to question your validity to do the job that we're doing, you have to take a page out of our King's book in order to silence them. I'm going to keep reading. Verse 45, then in the audience of all the people, he said unto his disciples, beware of the scribes, which desire to walk in long robes and love greetings in the markets, and the highest seats in the synagogues, and the chief rooms at feasts, which devour widows' houses, and for a show make long prayers. The same shall receive greater condemnation. At the end of all of that, Christ said, don't be like these uppity niggas, man. Don't be like these scribes who love to dress gloriously, who love to greet in the market, who love to sit in the and get the best rooms at the hotel, get the best seats at the event. Beware of them, because damnation is coming to them. Because they are lawless, they are disobedient, they are ignorant children, and the Father is going to destroy them. And this was our king, man. He was a man who was able to read. He discerned spirits and read between the lines and understood people's motivations, which is why those who he healed, those people's only motivations was to please God, was to be seen by God, was to know the power of God. Christ didn't go healing people that didn't want to get healed. He didn't go, the people who he healed were people who sought him out, who knew this man has the power. God is with this man. But those who didn't believe him, Christ didn't go and try to convince them. He didn't chase them down and try to prove himself to them. He let them think what they wanted to think. He did what he was sent here to do. Here we are here 2,000 years later, still talking about him. Brothers, this is the type of man that you have to become. It is what is required of you in order to be able to lead this people. And it is what is required of you in order for you to be recognized as a man who has the authority that comes from the Most High. With that, we got about a half an hour on the class. I'm not going to be able to get through Luke chapter 21. So I'm going to go ahead and clip it there, clap it up. We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. You brothers and sisters that's tuning in, and you got family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, get them in contact with the ISUPK. We have classes Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. All so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians are free. Come and get this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding of the Most High, so that we can rise up and be the people that the Most High called us to be. With that, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barak to all the brothers. Yahweh Shemal Athan Bashem Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. Shalom.